Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Long Beach Buys info session. Thank you very much for spending your lunch hour with us today. We will have translation for today's session. So if our interpretation team could introduce themselves, maybe first I will give it to Satari.
ជំរាបសួរបងប្អូនទាំងអស់គ្នាដែលមកចូលរួមប្រជុំនៅថ្ងៃនេះបើសិនជាបងប្អូនត្រូវការចង់ស្ដាប់នៅការបកប្រែភាសាថ្ងៃនេះយើងនៅមានការប្រជុំសម្រាប់ Long Beach ទីក្រុង Long Beach របស់យើងហើយដូច្នេះសូមបងប្អូនជ្រើសរើសភាសាដែលបងប្អូនចង់ស្ដាប់មានភាសាខ្មែរភាសា Spanish ហើយនិងភាសា Catalog បើសិនជាបងប្អូនប្រើទូរស័ព្ទឬក៏នៅក្នុងសូមជ្រើសរើសនៅចំណុច 3 ហើយចំណុចនោះដើម្បីជ្រើសរើសនៅភាសាដើម្បីស្ដាប់នៅការបកប្រែភាសាខ្មែរភាសា Spanish និងភាសា Catalog បើសិនជាបងប្អូនមានសំណួរអ្វីសូមបងប្អូនសរសេរនៅក្នុង chat សូមអរគុណ Now I'm passing on to the Spanish interpreter. Thank you.
Thank you, Sitari. Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Voy a dar las instrucciones en cómo acceder a la función de interpretación. En un segundito van a ver en la parte baja de su pantalla, si están en su computadora, un icono que va a aparecer, dice interpretación. Van a presionar ahí y seleccionar el idioma de su preferencia. Esta tarde vamos a tener interpretación en español, Kamai y Tagalo. Por favor, elegir el idioma de su preferencia y también pueden poner mute original audio o silenciar el audio original. Si están desde una tableta o un teléfono móvil, en la parte baja hay 3 puntos. Seleccionan ahí, seleccionan Language Interpretation o interpretación, el idioma de su preferencia y también mute original audio o silenciar el audio original. Si por cualquier motivo tienen un problema con el audio, si están escuchando 2 voces a la misma vez, pueden regresar a esa opción, y seleccionar un mute original audio. Si tienen cualquier problema técnico o necesitan asistencia, por favor dirigirse vía chat con el personal de la ciudad y ellos podrán asistirles. Gracias. Thank you.
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. Ito po ay si Tiffany na magbibigay sa inyo ng Tagalog na interpretasyon ngayong araw na to para City of Long Beach Buys Info Session ngayong araw na ito. Meron po tayong magbibigay na interpretasyon sa Kamay, Espanyol at sa Tagalog. Ako ang magbibigay sa inyo ng Tagalog ngayong araw na ito. Pwede niyong i-mute ang inyong mga Zoom meeting ngayon, meron kayong katanungan, i-chat lang po ito sa Q&A portion netong ating pagsasalitang ngayong araw na ito. Maraming salamat po. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, welcome. My name is Michelle Wilson. I am the City of Long Beach Purchasing Agent with the Financial Management Department. And just quickly, I'd like to introduce our team that's here to put on the session for you today. So if we can start with Melissa.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Melissa Diamici. I'm the Labor Compliance Officer for the city. I will turn it over to Carrie.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carrie Snowy, and I am one of the lead buyers in purchasing. And I will turn it over to Augusta.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Augusta Gudeman, and my title is Recovery and Equity and Contracting Officer. And I'll pass it over to Abraham.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abraham Torres. I am one of 3 analysts supporting Augusta in our division's efforts. Let's have you here. I will pass it to Brendan.
Hello, Brendan Petit. I'm an analyst for the Long Beach Recovery Act and the implementation of Long Beach Buys. I'll pass it on to, to Laura.
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Merrifield. I'm a fellow at the Government Performance Lab of the Harvard Kennedy School, supporting the city in our efforts to make purchasing more inviting and efficient and equitable. And Brendan, I'll give it back to you if there's anyone else to introduce themselves.
Will, please introduce yourself.
Sure thing. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Will Reyes. I am one of the assistant buyers in purchasing, but my main role is outreach coordinator, so helping vendors like yourself get registered and involved with the city. Thank you.
Okay, thanks team. So for today, our objectives and our agenda is to have an overview of our contracting process, as well as give you all an understanding of the Long Beach Buys system and how you can register, create a profile, do your basic certifications, and how you can find out how to submit a proposal or a quote. During this session, we will also be doing a live demo. So if you would like to follow along and actually create your profile while we're doing the live demo, you're welcome to do that. You will need some information in order to complete that process. So if while we're going through the intros, if maybe you want to get that information ready, I'll just give you a quick list of what you will need. So you don't need to do this. This is totally optional, but it will be, you'll need your tax ID, your business type, the legal name and status of your business, and the state and year of your incorporation. So if you have all that information ready, you can do it right along with us today. So again, thank you for being here, and then I'm going to pass it to Abraham.
Thank you, Michelle. Today we'll be talking through the details of the city's contracting process, introduce our new e-procurement platform, Long Beach Buys, and leave plenty of time for you to ask questions. We are fortunate to have our procurement experts join us this afternoon.
Maraming salamat sa pagsama sa inyo ngayong hapon na ito.
Alrighty. Next slide, please. Okay, before we get into the details, I want to set the stage as we feel it's important to share our values. The city spends hundreds of millions of dollars in contracting every year in order to provide quality services and results to our residents. And in all of these purchases, we are guided by 8 core values: to be result-driven, get the best value, be service-oriented, be efficient, make procurement process competitive, ensure decision-making is always fair, continue to engage in a diverse set of vendors to ensure we are equitable, and lastly, to inform the public of procurement process in order to be transparent with public monies. The city has 2 types of purchases: a small purchase and a formal purchase. So before we move on too far, it's important for everyone to understand what we mean when we say a purchase and how we actually apply these thresholds we will discuss. This is really important because it affects the methods that are available for staff to procure a good or service, and it impacts what level of approval is required to move forward with a purchase. A purchase is not an individual transaction, invoice, contract, or vendor cost. It is the total cost for a single scope of work or what you are buying overall, and can involve multiple vendors. With that definition in mind, let's discuss a different type of procurement methods. A small purchase is under $25,000 and does not go through the formal solicitation process. For a small purchase, the city departments will contact a company directly for quotes. In order to be considered for these small purchases, you will need to select the yes option on your company's profile. We will revisit this later in the presentation. Formal purchases are over $25,000 and are required to go through formal competitive procurement processes. These opportunities will be listed on Long Beach Buys, and you will need to submit a proposal to be considered for the contract. Now that we know 2 types of procurement methods, let us move on to the process of formal purchases. Our formal procurement process has 4 stages that you need to be aware of. The first stage is open. This is when the solicitation is posted on Long Beach Buys for everyone to see and submit proposals. The second stage, questions and answers, happens concurrently with the open stage. There is a period of time before the opportunity closes that the city accepts and responds to questions. We will go over how to submit questions later in this presentation. This stage can also include pre-bid meetings that may be mandatory These meetings give you extra details regarding the opportunities and could include on-site visits. After the questions and answer stage is the evaluation and intent to award. This is when the city reviews all submissions and selects the proposals that best meet the need. Lastly is the approval and contracting stage. This is where we negotiate final terms with the awarded contractor. Now that we've reviewed the 4 stages, I will pass it to Melissa to talk through the Long Beach Small Business Enterprise Certification.
Great, thank you, Abraham. I just want to touch quickly upon our Long Beach Small Business Enterprise Program and the associated certification, which we call an Lbsbe certification that can be obtained over Long Beach buys. The city's had a small business enterprise program since 2011, and the purpose is to encourage small, very small, and local small businesses to participate in city procurement opportunities, typically by gaining a foothold and building your experience as a subcontractor on larger projects. We do this by assigning project-specific subcontracting and subconsulting goals for some of our procurement opportunities. For these procurements, the prime contractors have to commit to subbing out to a combination of Long Beach certified small, very small, and local small businesses to meet the assigned goal for that particular procurement opportunity. If they can't meet the goal, then the primes have to show good faith efforts that they attempted to do so. And part of their good faith efforts includes outreach to those business types. The key to this is that for a business to count towards the project specific goal, they have to have a valid Long Beach Small Business Enterprise certification. And this is regardless of if a certification exists from a different agency. Having that Lbsbe certification will make your business more marketable to the prime contractors that are trying to attain that subcontracting goal on the procurement, because they have to outreach to you specifically. If your business has a small business certification through another agency, or even if you don't, but you know you still qualify as a small business, we highly encourage you to go through and submit an Lbsbe certification request through Long Beach buys. The system is going to take you through some pre-qualification questions to determine preliminary eligibility, and we determine eligibility from the California Department of General Services, or the DGS. And basically for that, you have to be independently owned and operated, not dominant in your field of operation. You have to have a principal office located in California, and the owners have to be domiciled in California. In addition to that, we also utilize the size and dollar standards from the SBA Table of Small Business Size Standards, and we use the North American Industry Classification System codes, or the NAICS codes, that are applicable to your business. In a few minutes, I'll provide you with some more specific Lbsbe registration information on our procurement platform, Long Beach Buys, but right now I'm going to turn it back over to Augusta. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So now we get to jump right into the juicy content, which is introducing you all to Long Beach Buys. So first thing I want to do is give you a little insight into why we're so excited about this new system and how it's going to help us more effectively engage with you all who are our key business partners. So the new system is going to allow us to continue lowering barriers to contracting with the city and improving equity in procurement as we lower those barriers. It's also going to allow us to have more transparency in our contracting activities than we've had before. So you all will have more ability to see activities and see what's happening when it comes to procurements than you've had in the past. And there are also efficiencies within the system that primarily affect city staff on the back end, but are ultimately going to make things go faster for you all too. So we're excited about that. The system, our vendor registration database, which is really what we're talking about today, is going to help us identify and prioritize our the businesses that we are particularly interested in doing business with, which is especially our local, diverse, and disadvantaged businesses. So that's a really great asset. And the system is also helping us promote and comply with our language access policy in the city. We are hosting, our landing page allows us to host guides and video resources in multiple languages. And the system is also compatible with Google's Translate add-in, which just provides that much more ease of access for those who need a little language assistance. So we just went over the different stages of a solicitation and how that works with the city of Long Beach. And the key takeaway here for you all is that most of the solicitation process is managed through Long Beach's through Long Beach Buys. So the open stage, the question and answer stage, and the evaluation and intent to award stage is all going to happen through Long Beach Buys. And so Long Beach Buys is really your new hub for all procurement activity when it comes to doing business with the city. So there's a lot of information here, and we'll jump into how to access it in just a second. But what we want you all to really pay attention to is there are a couple of new features. There's a lot of information available in Long Beach Buys that you can access without even having to register. So the public will be able to access all bid and RFP opportunity details. You'll be able to access instructions related to bids. You'll be able to see prospective vendors and all kinds of other good stuff. However, it is really important that you actually register to be considered for a business opportunity. Registering, while you can see a lot of information, you wouldn't actually be able to respond to a proposal or a bid without being registered. So the other thing it does is it puts you and your information in our database so that when our city staff are looking to source small purchases, they will have your information available so they can look you up and reach out to you for quotes. So we're really encouraging everyone, even though there is a lot of information available without having to register, it is really important that to get yourself in the running to be considered for contracting opportunities, that you register yourself in the system. Okay, and we are about to jump into our demonstration for the day. So we encourage everyone who's on the call to walk along with us while we're doing this demonstration for how to get registered. So the first thing you'll want to do is pull up your browser and put in and actually access Long Beach Buys. So you can access it a number of ways. You can go to our purchasing division's main page, which is longbeach.gov/purchasing. And there are a number of links on there. We tried to make it as easy as possible to find your way to Long Beach Buys. So there's an image right at the top that you can click and it will take you right there. Or you can access Long Beach Buys directly by putting into your browser www.longbeachbuys.com. And so we'll just give everyone a second. We'll talk slowly so that you can get yourself to Long Beach Buys landing page. And I'll pass it over to Will to get us started.
Thank you, Augusta. So we're giving everybody some time here to be able to get to that page and arrive to the landing page. Here is again the links that will take you there. Give everybody a few seconds. And then we'll get started. And once you do, either go through our website or simply go to longbeachbuys.com. If you do a simple Google search, Long Beach Buys, it will come up as well. This is what the landing page will look like, Long Beach Buys. And then if you look here highlighted in red, it'll take you where you see register. That's where we begin the process. And then I will show you that shortly right now in a few seconds, how that works. And just as a sneak peek as well, we'll be going over some information. Here's an image of the company information, kind of generally what you will be looking at. The information that we really need in order to complete registration will show next to an asterisk. So that's how you'll know that's information we definitely need to be able to move on. But with further ado, let's go ahead and start really quick. So like I said, you can simply do a Google search, Long Beach Buys, and it should be the top link there. And then you should all see what I see here, which is the landing page. So once you are here, you simply go to where it says register. If this is your first time registering your business, and you will see the company registration pop-up window. Here you'll enter your tax ID or EIN number. If you wish to use your social security number instead, you could click here and it switches between social security number and your EIN number. So you input that information, your company name, the email address that you'd like to use for the account, and then obviously United States of America, the country, and then you begin registration. Before we move on though, I do want to clarify that if at any point in the past, someone in your business or yourself did begin registration, you do not need to go up here to pick up from where you left off. What you need to do, because at this point, the system has generated a vendor number and send it to you via email. So you want to scroll down on the landing page, and under Supplier Activities, you'll see here it says complete registration. So this is where you want to go if at any point in the past you have started a registration and for some reason didn't finish. So you want to click on complete registration. Here it's asking for a supplier ID. That is the same as your vendor ID number that was given to you via email. It always begins with a VEN number. So that number goes here, that's your supplier ID, and then the email address that you used when you were registering. So with that information, you click submit, and the system will take you back to where you left off when you were registering previously. Perfect, just want to clarify that. So assuming we filled out the information, you click register, your page will now look like this. Some information will already be filled out for you, but obviously the rest is up to you to enter. I've kind of already started a fictional vendor here at the Battle LLC, a clothing company that I just made up right now, and then you could do the address info. If you notice, it's very general information, the company email you want to use for the account. I do want to clarify, if you notice here, you see the different tabs that you will need to fill out as you go through the registration process. You could skip and go back if you wish, but I do want to clarify that at any point, if you enter any information and you simply go to a different tab, you will lose that information. So you want to make sure that if you make any edits in any of the pages, you're going to the bottom of the screen and clicking on save and continue registration. Like that, you make sure you save your progress as you move through the registration process. So assuming that you filled out the first page here, you click save and continue registration. And this brings us to the small business certification that the City of Long Beach offers. And for this, I'll pass it back to Melissa, who will go into detail for this.
Well, so as Will mentioned, the Lbsbe certification is going to be the second tab at the top of your screen. So once you hit the continue button, that tab should automatically populate, or if you need to get back to it, you can always go and click that tab at the top. So you're going to see the program summary when you click on this tab, and there's a couple of options at the bottom of the page. You can either acknowledge the program and fill out the Lbsbe qualification questions as part of the registration process. You can select I disagree if you already know that your business does not qualify to be a small business enterprise, or you can select not now, and then you'll have the option to certify at a later date. If you do acknowledge the program and fill out the questionnaire, it's really important that you fill it out as accurately as possible. So I'm going to go through some of the fields here. Field number 2 is a really important one, and this is where you're going to input the NAICS codes that are applicable to your business. Note that these are not the NIGP codes that you would be setting up as part of your vendor profile for the things that you're able to provide. These are the NAICS codes that are also classifications that are applicable to your business, but it's just specific to the Lbsbe program. You'll be able to click in the blue, it says the SBA table of small business size standards, and that will actually bring up the table, and you'll be able to conduct a word search so that you can find the codes that are applicable to your business. And you can add as many codes as you want to. All right, thanks, Will. If we go back to the registration screen. So the next fields in 3 through 13, those are text fields that have information specific to your business, such as the year you started the business, how many full and part-time employees, and the financial information. The financial information is going to be really important here. So that's fields 8 through 12 specifically. Field number 8 should be populated with the 4-digit year of your most current annual gross receipts. This is most likely going to be the year 2021, but we do understand that some businesses were closed down for COVID, so it could be 2020 or even 2019. Field number 9 is going to be the dollar value of the gross receipts for that year that you entered. And then fields 10 and 11 are the next 2 previous years' gross receipts. So for example, if you put 2021 as your most recent year of gross receipts, then field 9 should have the annual gross receipts amount for the year 2021. Field 10 will have the gross receipts for the year 2020, and field 11 should have the gross receipts for year 2019. Field number 12 is going to be the average of those 3-year gross receipts. It does not calculate this automatically, so you will have to do a little bit of math and then input that value into field 12. Fields number 15 through 26 are more background information and pre-qualifying questions. You want to make sure that you're answering the yes or no questions accurately because they do pertain to those DGS pre-qualification criteria that I mentioned previously, and they are going to be a driving factor in whether the system automatically pre-qualifies you or if it disqualifies you. For example, if you select that you are not dominant in your field of operation, then you will be pre-qualified. But if you select that you are dominant in your field of operation, then that's going to automatically flag your certification request and you will be deemed disqualified. So definitely pay attention to those DGS qualifiers and answer the questions appropriately. If you do make it through the preliminary assessment, city staff is going to verify the information on the request, and we're going to actually go into your vendor profile and update it. We'll go ahead and click the Lbsbe program box that's under the classifications and certifications, and we'll input the NAICS codes that are applicable to that certification. We're also going to check to see your eligibility as a very small or a micro business, and then we'll update that classification on your vendor profile as well. The micro business or VSBE is typically reserved for businesses with an average gross annual receipts of $5 million or less. I do want to mention that if you are disqualified during the pre-qualification assessment, but you do still have a valid unexpired City of Long Beach Lbsbe certification from Planet Bids, we're going to ask that you forward the disqualification email that the system is going to automatically generate to sbe@longbeach.gov, along with the copy of your Planet Bids certificate. City staff will update your profile accordingly after we verify the information. Please feel free to reach out to us at sbe@longbeach.gov with any small business enterprise questions that you might have pertaining to the program itself or the registration process. And we look forward to working with you. I'm going to turn it back over to Will so he can continue on with registration.
Perfect. Thank you for that, Melissa. Let's move on next to the administrator section. So let's go back to our website here. And before we move on, I did want to clarify something we've noticed in the past when it came to the business certification. Vendors were entering the $ or decimal points. We do want to clarify, as you noticed in our example, you simply just put in the number digits, and then the system will automatically put a decimal point for you, and it doesn't have anything else, or else the system will not recognize it. It will not accept it. So just a reminder, simply just put in the number value, and the system would accept it from that. Okay, for administrator, this is the person who will be the administrator user for the account. Very general information, as you can see. The email, I do want to clarify, the email that you put in here will be the email that will receive, for example, if we have to reset a password in the future, it'll go to that email. Any notice about bid solicitations will also go to that email. So you want to make sure that the email you input here is the one for Long Beach Bikes to contact going forward. And I do want to clarify that at no point in the registration process are you putting in a password. So I do know some vendors have started registering and then they're saying they can't log in because they don't remember their password. A password will not be given to you until you complete registration. The system will automatically send you a temporary password so you could sign in And only at that point will you create a password so you're able to sign in going forward. But as part of the registration process, you don't need to create a password. If you notice here next to login ID, for some reason, some vendors were putting a password here, but it's actually, this will be the login ID that you'll be using going forward. So we do want to suggest usually an email address will work fine, something that's easy to remember. And once the account is created, you're able to go back and make edits and changes to pretty much everything in the account except for the login ID. So you do want to clarify the login ID is set in stone as part of the registration process. There's a way to create a new ID, but you would have to add a user. That's a little more complicated, and I could help you with that later on in that process if that were to be the case. But for now, just be assured that the login ID will be permanent going forward. Then you use your login question for security purposes, and then your answer so that you're set. Okay. Then you save and continue registration. We have an address tab here. You're able to add additional addresses. For example, if you want a specific address for mail and so forth. But if not, it's not something to worry about. The system will automatically generate the address that you inputted at the beginning of the registration. Then we do have a terms section. You could completely just move on after this. If you notice, there is no asterisk next to the terms. This is not something that we need you to worry about and fill out. We could just continue registration. And then here's a big section of today's portion of what we require to register. And this is the categories and certification. So the certifications that we have here is basically asking any that you have proof of certification for. We have the same ones we used to have in Planet Bits, but fortunately now with Long Beach Buys, we have added a few more that vendors are asking us to include. So you will see here veteran-owned small business, disadvantaged business enterprise, as some of the new additions that we've added. So you select here what does apply to your business. I do want to clarify that there are some vendors that have said that they don't have a certification, but the system is not letting them complete registration. That is because the system still requires you to make a selection. And if you notice here towards the bottom, it says classifications not applicable. So if none of these apply to you, you do want to make sure you select this to be able to move on and finish registration. And I'll come back to this section later on about how to add a certification. But for now, let's move on. We have our terms and conditions category. This is simply you agreeing to do business and to use the system the way it was intended to do. So obviously we need you to select this. If you want to read into the detail, there's a link here for you so you can look into the terms and conditions. Then we want you to let us know the business type that you represent. So here you have the different business types for vendors, and you select what applies to you accordingly. Then we have classifications, same as I mentioned before. Planet Bits, we had same list, but actually now we've added a few more based on as well as vendors letting us know, and that's obviously trying to grow our vendor list here. So we have added, for example, LGBT business enterprise and disability-owned business enterprise as some of those examples. Here we see the Long Beach Small Business Enterprise Program that Melissa was speaking about earlier. This is where, if you notice, it's blocked out. I can't select this. This is where Libre Compliance will come back into the system and select this for you once you've been certified and approved. Here we have the residency and license information. This is simply asking if you have an active Long Beach business license and you select yes or no. I do know some vendors ask that, are they able to participate and respond to bid solicitations if they do not have a business license at the moment? And the answer is yes. You could go ahead and participate. You don't need a business license in order to be part of the portal and submit your bid proposals. Obviously, if you are awarded, then at that point, a business license will have to be issued to you. But for now, in order to participate, if you notice here, I put no. That doesn't hurt my chances of being able to be part of a bid solicitations. Here we have a contractor license. So if you have an active contractor license with the state license board, this is where you'll select yes or no. This is another section that caused some confusion. We are asking for the number of part-time employees that you currently have that reside in the city of Long Beach. Some vendors will leave this blank because they didn't have any employees that fell into this category. But again, like I said, the system does need you to select something here in order to consider it complete. So we need you to click select. And in this case, if you notice, I put in a 0 because I don't have, that doesn't apply in my case. And you're able to move on. Here is the same question, but regarding full-time employees. So you would like to select here and then let us know. I put in a number 5, you put in a number that applies to your business of full-time employees that reside in the city of Long Beach. And here at the very end, which is one of the features we're excited about to use with Long Beach Buys, we are asking if you're interested in participating in projects that are $25,000 or less. So here you select yes if you're interested in small business opportunities, or no if you are just looking for those large number of bid solicitations. This is where the system will be using, if you click yes, our departments will be able to get your information and be able to reach out to you directly to request a quote. So that is a feature that we're excited about. And then hopefully, you know, this is where you'll be able to choose that. Once you filled out your information, if you noticed here at the very top, it says add certification. That will come out as an option. Once you filled everything out at the very bottom, you'll see it will say save and add certification. So you want to click on this. And once you do so, you'll see the feature that says add certification. You're able to click on this. And this is where you'll enter your certificate information, the ID, the effective date, the expiration, brief description. You fill it out as it applies, and then you're able to save and exit. If you accidentally open this and you didn't want to, you could just close the window. And then as we notice here as an example, I already have an ID that certification that I entered here. And if at some point you need to delete this, you could always have an option to delete it here. So this is, I just want to clarify, you are able to add certificates as proof based on what you fill out here. So once you are set with this, you could go ahead and continue registration at the very bottom, save and continue registration. And now we get to the NIGP section, which I know it's another big section, and then we have vendors reaching out. But for that, I'll pass it on to Brendan, who will explain this further. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Will. Okay, so I will be telling you about the NIGP codes. NIGP is the National Institute of Government Procurement. They have created codes for absolutely everything from goods and services. And it starts with class items and then classes and class items. But why are these important? When you register, you want to select as many of them as pertain to your company, because these will allow you to be automatically notified whenever we post a solicitation that involve any of the NIGP codes you select. So use it, that way you know, hey, we posted something for you. So I will show you how we add them to our accounts. So I have logged in. Now, this is the landing page once you've logged in. Since I am the one who has registered, and you go in the top right here for your profile, you have multiple roles. You have the seller and seller administrator. Since you're the one who registered, you'll have the seller administrator, and that's where you want to go to be able to maintain your organization information. So here you're able to change anything that you want to update or haven't finished filling out during registration. If you want to add new users, maybe you want someone else to type everything in for you or respond to solicitations, you can maintain users or add users. So we're going to maintain our organization information and then maintain our commodity codes and add some. So this is the NIGP screen. This is the exact same screen that you will see when you register. There's two different ways that you can go about adding these codes. The first is to look through here, find a heading or an area that you work in. So maybe you do furniture and related services. So you would click on that number and it will break it down even further. So let's say we do office furniture. We click on that and it breaks it down even further. So then you can go through and select all the codes that pertain to your business, or you can simply click this and select all of them. Remember to go all the way to the bottom and click save or save and add more. The second way that you can add NIGP codes is by entering keywords. So if I'm a food vendor, I can just enter food as a keyword, click search, and it will bring up the 265 codes that pertain to food. Maybe I don't want to read through all of these to figure out, what they all are. But just to be on the safe side, I can select all of them and save them. And that way, anytime a solicitation is posted with any of those codes, I will be notified so that I can take a look at it and know of the opportunities. And now I will go through the demo of how to submit a quote. So first, I will show you how to find a quote, which you can do without even logging in. You can do it from the home page here, and you can find bid solicitations. So you can either search here or go to Advanced, select your bid solicitations, and you can just click search, or you can use any of these to narrow it down. And now I've searched, and these are all of the bid solicitations we have open. Since we just started with Long Beach Buys, we are still filling this out, so more are coming. But let's sign in so that we can respond to one of these. To do that, I'm going to want to change my role. So once again, going up here to the top right, finding the profile silhouette of my actual body right there. I'll put that in myself. And then we go to seller instead of seller administrator. Then from here, we have several different tabs. This one right here, bids, will show you all the open bids. And here we see that we have all the bids that are open. So I have already created a quote here. And you can see that, hey, yes, that is the one I made. So I could go in there and edit it if I wanted to. You can also see here quotes. This is my active quotes. It'll show you that I am currently working on this one. I have not completed it. So instead, we're going to look at this rectangular rapid flashing beacon. Click on it. It's going to ask you to acknowledge that you are looking at the bid. So I'll click yes. It gives us the summary information about the bid. It includes any attachments for the bid. And it comes down here to the different items that are associated with it. So at the very bottom of the page is create a quote. And then we start in the general tab. So here, most of this top stuff you aren't going to be dealing with as the shipping terms are based on what the RFP or solicitation is. So we're just going to click save and continue. One thing to note is if there is a required pre-bid meeting or just any pre-bid meeting at all, the information will be right there. It's letting me know up here that there is a required field that is not filled out. That is further on in the terms and conditions tab. So we'll go to the second tab, which is items. And here you will find all the items associated with the bid. This one only has one, but if there could be hundreds of them. You can either fill out the information here with unit costs, discounts, freight. You'll see that this currently says no bid because I have not put any information in here. I could also select no charge if I didn't want to charge, but we'll stick with no bid. and show that if I add to the unit cost, that disappears. You can also use this export item button, and it will create an Excel document with all of the items in it. You can then edit directly on this document, editing the unit cost or any of the other information, save it to your computer, and then upload it. And it will then override all the information on here. So it's an easier way to go through and update the information on multiple items all at once. Questions are if there are any questions associated with this. We have not put any in for this one, but if there were questions, you could put answers to those there. Subcontractors are if you plan on subcontracting out some of the work, you can look up and add them directly here. So if they are already vendors associated with our Long Beach buys, you can find them right on here. If they're not, ask them to sign up, and then you can add them right there. Notes are notes for yourself. Terms and conditions. So there's a attachment here to read and accept or not accept the terms and conditions, or with some exceptions. Use the field here to write out any exceptions. Also, this field is much bigger than it looks. I don't know that there is a limit on that. And that's the same for most fields within the system. Then going back to attachments, this is if there are attachments you want to upload, or if there are attachments for you that are required to be uploaded. If they are required, they'd be listed here. And then you would click on the required document, and then it would ask you to upload that specific document. You can add attachments. So maybe you want to add a quote in a Word document or PDF. You can click add file right there, and it will update right here. Lastly is our summary tab. And this just goes over all the information. You can double check, make sure everything is how you want it. And one thing to always note is to click save and continue whenever you do something on the system. Otherwise, it will not save and you'll have to redo it. So always click save if you want to do something. And that's the end of the demo. If you have any questions, we have lots of resources available. We have our outreach coordinator, Will, who you saw earlier. This is the phone number to contact and the email. Also, if you're interested in the Long Beach Small Business Enterprise, it's the same phone number and just sbe@longbeach.gov. We also have guides and video guides located on the Long Beach Buys website. And I will pass it off to Augusta to talk about our Bizcare program.
Yes, thank you so much, Brendan. Okay, so to close us out, if you are a Long Beach vendor, we want to make sure that you are aware of some other resources related to businesses. We are trying to get the word out as much as possible about all the other resources that are available to you. So if you're a Long Beach business, especially a Long Beach small business, we have a really cool program that has begun fairly recently called Bizcare Program, where we are doing pop-ups all around the city to support small businesses in applying to programs like grants, the direct relief grants coming from the city. We're also training the Bizcare staff right now to support vendors getting registered in Long Beach buys. So there's just a really great, well-rounded suite of services that the Bizcare program staff can support small local businesses to do. So if you're interested in finding out more about Bizcare, We've got the contact information. You can visit their website at longbeach.gov/bizcare or contact them via the phone number or email listed here. And then we've mentioned business licensing throughout. Again, to have a Long Beach business license is not a requirement to participate in procurement opportunities. However, if you do need to have a business license before we can finalize a contract. So if for whatever reason you need to reach out and learn more about business licensing, you can go to our website, longbeach.gov/business license, or call the phone number or use the email provided here to find out more about what that process looks like. Next slide. Okay, so if you remember nothing else from this presentation, there are a lot of details. We walked through a lot of things today. As we've mentioned in the Q&A, there were a number of questions about whether the slides would be sent out. And we will absolutely be following up with everyone with these slides from today and a recording, and also links, any of the key links that we mentioned today. So you will definitely have access to that information. And so what we really want you to be walking away today remembering is these key things that we have on this slide. The first is that Long Beach Buys is your hub for all contracting opportunities, and that registering is really the key action that will allow you to respond and be considered for both large and small contracting opportunities. So it's really important that you register and get registered. Another key takeaway is that NIGP codes are a key aspect of your registration. It is what allows you to be automatically notified of any future opportunities that we end up posting. So unless you're planning to check Long Beach Buys every day, you want to make sure that you are selecting the appropriate NIGP codes. And when in doubt, select more rather than less. And lastly is that we want to do business with you. We're here, we have many resources available to support you. And when you reach out to us, you are speaking to a real human. When you call the phone number or send an email, you're going to get a real human response, probably from one or several of the staff that you saw today. So we really want to make it clear that we highly encourage you to reach out with any questions or issues that you may have. So please do that. And this is great. We have about 6 minutes left. So we're going to go over some frequently asked questions that we get around Long Beach Buys. And at this point, once we go through the frequently asked questions, we can get to any other remaining questions that are in the Q&A. And if there aren't any remaining questions, I'll just go through the questions that different people have asked to make sure that everyone is, to bring that to everyone's attention and make sure we're answering them in front of the group. So the first frequently asked question that we get is whether you need to register if you've already registered in another system. And the answer is yes. Registration in any other systems or prior systems associated with the city does not carry over to Long Beach Buys. So it's really important that to be able to be considered and be able to respond to contracting opportunities that you register yourself now, new registration in the new system. The next question that we get frequently is how you complete your registration. So many people will go in and start entering information, and then maybe you get distracted, or maybe you need to go and look up more information. And how do you get back into it? So Brendan is demonstrating here. So you see these buttons at the top. There's the register and the sign in button. You actually want to avoid those, because you would enter the register button or use the register button if this was your very first time and you haven't entered any information in the system, and you would only use sign in once you have completed your registration. So if you're in the middle of your registration and you need to go back and give more information, you're going to scroll down to the middle of the page to the section that's labeled Supplier Activities. And the link on the left says complete registration. And this is the path you want to choose to finish a registration that is in progress. So it will ask you for your supplier ID. You will have received an email when you first entered your information with your supplier or vendor ID number, and then you'll use the email address that you originally registered it with. I did see in the Q&A that some people, their password wasn't working. And so we would ask, if that is the case for you, to please reach out to us so we can work with you to get you access back to your registration. Okay, do we have any other guides or resources for using the system? And we definitely do. On the landing page, we've provided a whole library of user guides. So if you scroll down to the white space just below the top photo, we have a whole bunch of different guides. Some of these guides are PDFs that offer you step-by-step instructions on how to do different functions in the system. And some of the guides are actually videos that will walk you through different steps. So please do make use of those resources because there's a lot of really helpful information there. When will new opportunities be posted on Long Beach Buys? We touched on this briefly earlier, but we're live with our new system, Long Beach Buys. And so no new contracting opportunities will be posted in our old system, and they will all be posted in Long Beach Buys moving forward. So we've got 3 current contracting opportunities posted, but like Brendan said, we have a lot more coming down the line. So keep checking back and staying up to date because they will all live in Long Beach Buys moving forward. And last question, if I have a valid unexpired Lbsbe certificate from the old system, do I still need to apply for the Lbsbe certificate in Long Beach Buys? And yes, we want to encourage you to resubmit your information in Long Beach Buys to make sure you have your Lbsbe certificate there as well. If you are marked by the system as disqualified, even though you already have a certificate and so believe you're qualified, please reach out to us at sbe@longbeach.gov and we'll reach back out to you to get you fixed and set up in the system. As a note, we will still accept your prior unexpired certificates if you are competing for an SBE procurement. But by registering yourself in the new system, you're ensuring that you'll get notifications, important notifications like reminders that your certificate is expiring, and it makes it easier to recertify once your current certificate is expired. So we encourage you to just get yourself into Long Beach Buys. Great. Okay, so I see one question right now. Do the exceptions under terms and conditions have to be entered in that field if they are included in the document? Or would you be able to say, see section X in the proposal? I am not to put anybody on the spot, but we have a couple staff members here, maybe Carrie, Tommy, or Lisa, if one of you want to come online and or unmute and answer that question. I think that would be a great one.
I'm sorry, Augusta, I'm having audio issues and you kind of broke up. What was the question?
Oh, no worries. The question is, when somebody is proposing a quote or entering a quote, there's a terms and conditions question, and the question prompts you to enter any terms and conditions that you want to propose yourself or that you don't want to accept as a part of the RFP. So the person is asking, do you have to enter all of that information directly into the field in the system, or can you say, please see section X in my attached proposal?
So I think what we normally see is a hybrid of that. You can refer to it, but be more specific when you're putting what your exception is. So you can refer to your attachments, but then kind of give an explanation of what your exception is. Does that answer their question?
I think it does. I think to the person who asked that question, yeah, there's really no right way, it seems like, to really do that. It is probably a good idea to be as specific as possible, both within the system and then also within your proposal, so that we're clear on our side exactly what it is that you're proposing in terms of your terms and conditions. And looks like this person was happy with that answer. So perfect. That concludes our session. Thank you all so much for your time and attention. Please reach out to us with any further questions, and we hope to hear from you soon.